Hello and welcome everyone, it is me, the Laval, also known as Support to Duelist, back for you with another video and a deck profile. It is finally post-Supreme Darkness. I've finished a bit of college work and I cannot wait to talk about this deck again. It's been not a whole lot of time since I last talked about Morphtronics, but I did want to get back into it with a TCG deck profile for what probably is going to be my list moving forward. I think the setup currently works fine to, look and see at the cards, even if, this Celfon's getting a bit more shade than the rest. Talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Morphtronic Celfon. All the Morphtronic monsters have two different effects depending on their battle positions. I will only be pointing out relevant ones during the course of this video. For Celfon, that being the attack position effect. On a soft once per turn, you're able to roll a 6-sided die, reveal cards equal to the result from the top of your deck, and then you're able to special summon any level 4 or lower Morphtronics from those, ignoring summoning conditions, which is an important part because that does come up for smartphone. But great effect. As we all know, summoning from deck is an incredibly good thing. I think the Adamantipator tuners have showed us that this is even good when you are tying this to revealing cards from the top of your deck. So Celfon is an absolutely amazing card that you do want to kind of make use of the fact that it is soft once per turn and just, keep using that effect. Then quickly mentioned when I was talking about Celfon, but here's the first of his partners in crime in Morphtronic Smartphone. A level 1 tuner that you can special summon from your hand by banishing a Morphtronic monster from the graveyard. With a similar attack position effect to Celfon. You're able to roll a die, reveal cards from the top of your deck, but you're able to add any Morphtronic card you find among those cards to your hand, which is a great way to grab, potential extenders, like we're going to be talking about later, stuff like Morphtronic Converter or potentially, a repair unit, which can be quite handy. But of course, just being a level 1 tuner with a special summoning condition is also great. And then, yeah, we're getting into the infamous one. We're getting to 3 copies of Celfon. Celfon is the, I believe, first and only main deck one with a relevant defense position effect, at least in my opinion. But what most people remember Celfon for is the attack position effect. You roll a 6-sided die and then you're able to special summon a Morphtronic monster from your graveyard with a level equal to or lower than the die result, meaning that since you are rolling a die with numbers from 1 to 6, you're not rolling less than a 1, so you're always able to special summon a level 1. Which has led to especially link-based lists, just basically getting one in the graveyard, keeping one on the field, and then you're just looping the two between each other, since these are also soft ones per turn. Something, synchro-based lists like mine will do to recurse Celfon to get more guys out of the deck and keep more balance between, tuners and non-tuners, because you're trying to, synchro summon, and you kind of need those two. Then, if you put this guy to defense, the effect's also not too terrible. You once again roll a 6-sided die, you reveal the top cards of your deck equal to the result, and then you're able to send a Morphtronic card from those to your graveyard, and you put the rest back in any order on the top or bottom of your deck, which is, not only a great way to potentially stack your deck, but also a good way to set up the graveyard, something I do like doing in lines where I only have access to a telephone and maybe a smartphone in hand when I'm starting with a Gadget Gamer. Like I'm opening Gadget Gamer smartphone and I'm probably summoning that telephone in defense just to see if I can get another Morphtronic name into the graveyard so that I have a banish for smartphone that isn't necessarily the telephone. Yeah, but great cards, despite, the crimes he's committed, but we try and not mention that at the dinner table. Then one of my personal favorites, Morphtronic Remoten. I am maxing out on this card, mainly because I do believe in Remoten Supremacy. The attack position effect reads as follows. You are able to target a Morphtronic monster in your graveyard, you banish that target, and then you're able to add a Morphtronic monster with the same level from your deck to your hand. As you have probably, seen, all we've talked about so far are level 1 monsters, and all these 3 are very important. So I believe having a way to, toolbox between these 3, or just specifically grab a lot of smartphones out of the deck to, keep extending, because you almost always will have bodies to banish, is absolutely great. And that is why I believe in maxing out Remote, especially because it also helps you make one of the deck's better endboard pieces in the Chiria Beast a lot easier without running some of the level 4s that would essentially be vanillas. And honestly speaking, with the inclusion of Clockwork Knight, the level also just sort of sometimes comes in handy. Having something with a stat line that is not just level 1 is pretty nice. Then we are moving into what is probably the highest impact normal summon of the deck, which is Gadget Gamer. On normal summon, this grabs you any level 1 machine, and as we've, previously talked about, a great card to have. Most of your big names are level 1 machines. So having a searcher for those is great, but then you're also able to tribute this and summon a Morphtronic monster from your hand and a gadget hauler that we are running one of from your hand or deck. This guy also, funnily enough, has a sort of relevant on-field effect where you can discard Morphtronics, which is something that can come in handy in lines where you maybe have like a backup Morphtronic in hand to keep like a repair unit live. Because in most cases, when you're summoning a Gadget Gamer, you're immediately grabbing a Celfon and turning the Celfon and the Gadget Hauler into a Power Tool Dragon. So if you have like a leftover Morphtronic in hand to keep a repair unit live, you can oftentimes use the Gadget Hauler to pitch like a Celfon and summon that back off the Celfon, which is kind of cute. So that is something to keep in mind. But yeah, very, very great normal summon for the deck. And then capping off the monster lineup is one copy of Therion King Regulus. Since the deck is running Foolish Burial Goods, Clockwork Knight, you do have quite a couple lines where you can search this guy fairly easily to just hand trap proof your lines, get like a potential early insurance in. I don't believe this guy is necessary, but I think it is a pretty good inclusion, especially with Clockwork Knight now out, to like, fend off, further hand traps after your initial plays get disrupted. And also maybe just as an endboard piece, this guy is still an Omni Negate, which is pretty good. For consistency's sake, we're playing the 1/1 for 1. Decide in the comments which is the better art. I do quite like the art for the reference to the 5Ds anime, but good card. Discard a monster, summon a level 1 from the deck, which can be, a Celfon or a Celfon. Great cards. Then moving into Morphtronic spells, we have 3 Converter. This also, similar to the Morphtronic monsters, has 2 effects depending on the battle position. But we are probably just going to be talking about the attack position one because that is the one you are most likely to use. You target a machine monster on your field, and then you, if you target an attack position monster, you summon a Morphtronic monster from the deck with a different name than your initial target, and then you put the target back on top of your deck. Something great that, a great thing that pulling him out of the extra deck for a quick moment. The fact that this guy as a machine is absolutely massive because you can often just turn a normal, negated normal summon into this guy if you don't have an extender. And then just Converter for like a Morphtronic, that being Celfon most likely if you don't have like, an impermed Morphtronic on the field. Or Celfon in the other case, because you're then able to guarantee that your top card is not a non-Morphtronic monster, which is pretty darn neat. It fixes numbers a bit, quite cute interaction. Otherwise, I'm maxing out on this mainly because it does straighten out a couple lines where you have like a leftover guy and need like a specific name. And, seeing this more often than not, I believe is more important than, running 2 because it is hard once per turn. Yeah, then we are running 3 Foolish Burial Goods and the accompanying 2 Clockwork Knights. But I hear you say, silly internet Morphtronic man, why are you onto Clockwork Knights as a target for this? The main reason for that is, once again, pulling this guy out, this card. Otherwise, Clockwork Knight would be just a hard garnet, but in this case, if you have, Clockwork Knight hard drawn and you have the Clockwork Knight in your extra, you can just send one for the other, discard this immediately for the graveyard effect to search an Earth Machine, and then you basically have a Clockwork Knight in your graveyard on the follow-up, which can just translate into any Earth Machine by means of discarding your draw for turn, which is kind of cute. And yeah, Foolish Burial Goods is just a regular way you would send this, kind of, a Signet mining on a delay, if you will. But just a great bit of consistency that you do highly appreciate. Yeah. Moving into some equipped spells, we have 3 copies of Repair Unit. This is usually what you will be searching off the man, the myth, the legend, the Power Tool Dragon. It is basically an archetypal premature burial that just discards a Morphtronic, targets a Morphtronic in your graveyard, and then you summon the target back. Which is pretty cute, good way to extend, and having, a way to search this in engine is also pretty nice. Or like, I'd say guaranteed search this in engine off a Power Tool Dragon is pretty nice. For Braver equips, I'm on a Life Extreme, a Raptinus, Supreme Magic Blade, and a Metal Silver Armor. TLDR, what these do is like these force your opponent, these lock your opponent out of targeting effects for monsters on the field or in the graveyard. Because this makes your Braver Dragon immune to targeting. This forces your opponent to target the Braver, so you're kind of in a marauding captain situation. Shoutouts to people who know what I'm talking about. And this just makes your Braver essentially 4K in combat. If this is equipped to an Earth Synchro monster, which is the only thing it can be equipped to, the monster that Synchro monster battles always lose 1500 in damage step. And funnily enough, if the battle position of a monster on the field is changed, you can destroy a card on the field, which does come in handy, since Braver can also swap the battle position of the monster he targets for his effect. So you have like a sort of delayed quick effect pop in that way, which does come in quite handy against like more back row focused decks, where you can potentially start sniping back row before you let the turn pass back to you. Then for non-engine, because this deck does run a bit, 3 Fenrir, I believe this guy needs no introduction. Big Bungus that replaces himself in hand, helps break boards going second, has a absolutely amazing stat line for Synchros going first. Yeah, I would like to pretend this guy is cuttable, but I think Fenrir just hits a lot of good boxes for the deck. In terms of, you know, what he does going second, also what he does offer going first, to where I sadly will have to say you might have to, you know, hope that this guy is in like the next quarter century set, if you are concerned with, you know, a budget when it comes to this deck, because this is, I believe, the only really expensive card on the list. 3 droplets, amazing board breaker. There are hands where you do find yourself short on like a bit of spell and trap space, because Braver equips 3 cards. You want to get an Earphone into rotation, so that's also in your spell trap zone. And if you make Ethereon King Regulus, you're like kind of, you know, a situation where this is oftentimes stuck in your hand. But it does come in clutch really, really nicely, especially when you're trying to play into boards. And just overall, an absolutely great card that, you know, also has application going first. Then we have a Call by the Grave against hand traps, and for further hand trap combativeness, we're on 3 Triple Tactics Talents. I threw the third one in mainly because this list is already over 40. This is 42 cards. If I haven't mentioned that yet, here it is. And, you know, the chance of like drawing talents into talents is like a bit lower, and I wanted to make sure that I see it rather than not. And at worst, you can always pitch like leftover talents for like a Clockwork Knight Engrave, a droplet. So, you know, who really tracks that? Yeah, that is the 42 card main deck. Moving into the extra deck, we have you know, the Power Tool duo of a OG Power Tool Dragon and a Power Tool Braver Dragon. This often is made off of your Gadget Gamer, will reveal 3 repay units, adding 1 of those to your hand, because this reveals 3 equips, and then your opponent randomly adds 1 to your hand. And this is basically the main goal. Braver Dragon on summon equips 3 different names from deck or graveyard to himself, which will be the previously pointed out Braver equips, and then can send an equipped card during the main phase as a quick effect, or like an equipped spell equipped to him during the main phase as a quick effect. Target a monster on the field, and then on resolution you decide if you either want to negate that monster's effect or if you want to swipe the battle position of that monster, which does come up. I do have popped, you know, quite a couple cards with that in my time playing the deck post-support. An insanely important bridge between the two, Exarchs and Crusader's Dragon. If you have a Morphtronic Engrave and a, you know, Gadget Gamer in hand, you are often just getting to Power Tool Braver Dragon by the mechanism of this, because you're grabbing a level 1 tuner, making a Power Tool Dragon. Power Tool Dragon grabs you an equip that puts the level 1 tuner back on the field, if you have a Morphtronic to discard in hand, of course. And then this revives the level 1 tuner again to immediately give you access to the one, the only, the bravest of boys. So there is that. The rest of the Synchro lineup is fairly toolboxy. You can kind of play with what you can make. That's why, you know, Supreme Sovereign Chenging is here, just a great 10 to make. You do banish quite a couple cards, so this does help, you know, kind of push through games, apparently, just kind of help push through games on follow-up turns. Another Sword Soul classic in Draco Berserk of the Tenyi. This is just a good generic 8 to make, and without a whole lot of conditions. Another good 8 with a couple more conditions is Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. This is mainly here as like Nibiru proofing for the sake of Nibiru proofing. Sometimes you do run into lines where you kind of, can make this. And just giving your deck essentially an inevitability to, Nibiru proof if your opponent decides to get greedy with it is kind of cool. Then an FA Dawn Dragster. Since Baron left us, probably for the better of the game as a whole, having a way to negate something that can evenly matched has been a bit rough. So this is a great way. You do make 7s fairly easily even if you sometimes do have to choose between this or your Power Tool Dragon. But, I'd rather not get even lead if it means, I can, make something that prevents that. So these are sort of toolbox slots. Experiment with maybe synchros the deck can make. It is generally very flexible. You could run stuff like a Stardust Chart Warrior or something. And then 2 cards that I will have to talk about in tandem, which are going to be Naturia Beast and Morphtronic Earphone. This is something you usually make with Remoten and Celfon. Again, this could have no effects, be a perfectly playable card, mainly because it's a level 4, it is an Earth, so with a level 1 tuner, you're making Naturia Beast, which is a walking Imperial Order. But this has texts, which is great. This can equip itself from field or graveyard to a synchro monster you control. And then give it 2 attacks on monsters during the battle phase. Mainly, the cool part about this being, a recurable equip is it is consistent fodder for your Braver Dragon. You will not have to shed any of the equips that gives you like cool bonuses like the targeting protection or anything else. If this is in your rotation, you're probably in a situation where you can just fire the Braver continuously. Link lineup is once again a whole lot of flex slots. I'm playing an Underworld Goddess because I absolutely adore this card. I believe in Link 4 Kaiju Supremacy. Yeah, I said Link 4 because you're always taking 1 from your opponent. But yeah, with this deck, just, putting out bodies like it is, like it ain't no thing. This is very easily made. Does help going second immensely. I think there have been like many games where just being able to slap this down has absolutely saved my ass. You can definitely cut her and play like, I don't know, an Access Code Talker or something, but I would not leave the house without an Underworld Goddess by my side. Also, the Earth Charmer immovable. This is mainly just a leftover, but still like a neat Link 2 to have when you just need to get guys off the field, because sometimes you do run into a situation where you can't like cleanly make an IP Masquerader. So yeah, having her is still pretty great. Once in a blue moon, you might have a target. The floating effect does basically grab your entire monster lineup, except I think Fenrir exactly. Regulus also barely doesn't make the cut with 1600 defense, but still a great card to have. And then, yeah, the sealed only special, she's also here, accompanied by her girlfriend. IPSP, very iconic duo for, end board setups, basically replacing IP into Unicorn. So yeah, those 2 are great. Still playing the Relinquished Anima because I do like the utility it has going second. And then running the new guy on the block, which is, I believe, a card that deserves its own spotlight. The Clockwork Knight. This on Link Summon will be able to send a continuous spell you control to the graveyard and then add a Clockwork Knight from your deck to your hand. As mentioned during the part where I was talking about Clockwork Knight, this is going to be where you send Clockwork Knight for Clockwork Knight and then just, already have a discard for it. Pretty neat card. Takes any non-Link machine monster with a 1000 or less base attack, so this means you can link off any Morphtronic, which does kind of clear up situations where you might have to link off a remote and have a smartphone in hand, which is pretty nice. And then you're also able to target another machine monster you control, target a monster in your graveyard, send the initial target to the graveyard, and then summon the other target back in defense position. I have underestimated how good that is because it can sometimes come up, in fact, in situations where you're able to like make an Earphone with a remote and then have like a leftover body, don't want to commit into a Nat Beast, and then just bring back the remote and go like into a Power Tool Dragon, into a Braver line, which is pretty cool. So yeah, Clockwork Knight, absolutely great card for the deck. Yeah, there's a whole video of why this guy is great on my channel, so maybe check that out if you're curious. But yeah, this is my Morphtronic list, now post-Supreme Darkness. Kind of did want to talk about it at length, looking at the time on my recording. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you're maybe running. I do remember that cool tech someone pointed out to me where you can just use like an on your mark, get set ready duel to grab a Jet Synchron, go, you know, normal the Jet, link that off into this guy, send the on your mark, grab a Clockwork Knight, and then, you know, discard the Clockwork Knight for Jet to bring it back. My bad. Make a Platinum Gadget with these two, and then, you know, just discard another card to Clockwork Knight, add a Celfon, and since you have a Platinum Gadget on the field, you can already summon that. We'll try and remember to input the comment here. But yeah, let me know what you're maybe, you know, running now post Supreme Darkness with Morphtronics. Are you also on the Clockwork Knight, or, you know, what are the general thoughts? I believe this is a very neat card for the deck. Does add quite a bit of, you know, cool plays to the deck and a good bit of consistency, kind of fixing the whole Clockwork Knight being a hard garnet thing, which is pretty darn neat. But yeah, with all that out of the way, I'll be thanking you guys very much for watching, and I'll be seeing you guys again next time. But until then, goodbye.